So, Trev Coleman, thanks very much for joining me here this evening. And my apologies, we should have been doing this a bit earlier this evening, but again, family life and stuff like that gets involved. So it's a bit of a later discussion than we intended. But for the second time, you join me on the podcast. Thanks very much, Trev, for that.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to be following your story and to have gotten to talk to you before. But I suppose before we get stuck into what I want to talk to you about, let's have a quick chat just about to refresh people's memories out there if they don't know what you were actually in court for. But what was it that brought you into court the other day?
I was busted last year for production, possession with intent to supply of 75 cannabis plants.
Lovely. And you're in Durham, is it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and just for people out there, because a lot of people might be in Ireland and they wouldn't understand some of the politics over there, but the Durham Police Force, was it about in 2018 or something like that? Or maybe under one of the constables, they said they weren't going to be going after
Yeah.
low
That was it.
low
That was
offenders.
actually, that was around about 2014.
2014, actually. Sorry, yeah.
Yes, it was me who actually broke the news on that. When I first got involved with all of this, I got involved with Teesside Cannabis Club.
Hmm.
And it was me who actually took Teesside Cannabis Club to the police, which allowed that relationship there to flourish. Now, during that time, I decided I was going to research the charges. So the charges are that Schedule 1, um, Schedule 1 controlled substance. I went looking for the evidence that um, the police used to claim that cannabis meets that criteria. Spent about 3 weeks trying to find it, couldn't find it anywhere, so I eventually got in touch with Ron Hogg. Now, during that conversation, I asked him if he could direct us to the evidence that backs all this up,
Yeah.
and he said he couldn't. When I asked him why not, he told us because it doesn't exist.
And Ron Hub is the police constable, was it, or not constable?
Yeah, he was our PCC at the time, Police and Crime Commissioner.
Police and commissioner, that
So
was the one.
yeah, and during another one of those meetings, I'd already found out that the cops locally weren't targeting personal users anymore. I asked him about it, and he confirmed it. Then, after that meeting, where I went back and I broke that news via Teesside Cannabis Club's Facebook page, which all of the nationals jumped all over. Teesside Cannabis Club have gone from strength to strength since they've got the only police-backed recreational club in the country.
Nice. And are they still up active? Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Nice. That's the job. I've seen some stuff coming out of like Bristol, and I see fucking Gary Hughes is back up and running again. So it seems like there's a good active scene over there in the UK. But
Gary Hughes is the one that I watch more than anybody else just now. I mean, I know a little bit about what's going on in the background there. So other than that, I tend not to take much notice of the culture over here anymore because when ignorance is bliss, to be fair, and the last year it has been quite stressful and all the rest. I mean, to watch people's reactions to what's going on it's remarkable, I mean, all these people who are fighting in the different ways, and there are so many people who just want to stick the knife in and put them down. And it's like, come on, just get together and start doing something.
yeah, yeah, I get you, man. No, I think there's a lot of division out there. All right, it's disheartening.
That's typical left-wing politics, though, which is what this is, unfortunately.
And I suppose just to go back then, because I was just trying to create the picture there for people as to the what unfolded the night in question in which you got caught, because you actually called the police yourself that night. So if you like, could you explain that one for people again? Because I know we talked about this in the past, but I just want to, because
Right. And on the day, I hear a rap at the door. So I go to the front door and there's nobody there. Look down the side alley, and he has us four lads waiting to go out my back door. At the time, I'm absolutely crippled. I've got a stenosis in my lower lumbar, which it presses on a nerve, which any sort of weight on my left leg tends to be highly painful.
Sure.
So I comes in, I managed to get the door blocked sort of thing so they couldn't get in. And I phoned the police, simply being out on my own, and I panicked. The police, when they got you, leisurely as anything, couldn't give a toss. Coming for me, not for the little scroats trying to break into my house. Which, I mean, I know according to them, I have committed a crime, but no, they're the ones committing it. The little scroats who are trying to break into people's houses, they're the criminals, not me. I'm not bothering anybody.
Yeah.
I had to phone them. None of my neighbours have ever phoned the police about me, ever. I get on really well with all of my neighbours. All of my neighbours know I grow my own. And every single one of them have been spot on in this 78 years, nearly 10 years that I've lived here now.
Yeah, you've never created a problem for any of your neighbours, and they would give you a stand-up character reference, I'd say.
Oh yeah, I mean the lads down the allotments, they're quite lovers because I take all of my old soil down there, and apparently anything that you grow in soil that cannabis has been grown in, so leaving all the roots and everything in, it'll increase its yield by 20 to 30%. So they're all pleased as punch when they're clearing the boards or the leak shows and the like.
Jeez. So when you called the cops, they arrived on at the gaff then, so they came in, you were just telling them you got broken into, and they were like, well, we're going to actually take those plants now that the lads were trying to steal.
Pretty much, yes, exactly that. Now, I tried, and at the time, now, as I'm sat here now, my computer screen is my TV, so it's a big 50-inch screen. And on the screen at the time, I had WHO APD 56, which is the UN document that underpins the global Schedule 1 status of cannabis. None of them will acknowledge it. They literally all just turned their backs on it. No, I've got no interest.
Yeah, so all of a sudden they don't want to uphold.
This is documents that you're supposed to rely on in court. But as it turns out, that document is inadmissible, as I found out.
Fuck's sake. So we'll fast forward a bit then. So you've had a bit of an anxious wait anyway. What's that like before we get to the court date? Like, what was that like, the wait since then till yesterday, wasn't it?
I wouldn't assume it's been that strong because I kind of get what's going on. I don't think it's been that stressful for us. But at the same time, it has been, I would say, frustrating and angering, simply because I know that there's nothing to back it all up. It's been confirmed in Parliament. It's been confirmed by the UN. It's been confirmed by various people who have checked my work. You know, everything has been confirmed. And then I'm sat there in court hearing judges and barristers talking about how we know this is wrong, we know things are going to change, but this is what we stick with, so we're just going to follow orders and crack on.
It's completely inhumane.
To me. You know, literally, everybody there knew. The probation officer, she looked completely apologetic. It turns out that her 7-year-old son suffers from IBD. So she'd obviously done a bit of reading on the Medi-Cannabis side. So whilst I was there, I gave her a referral to both Flora Fusion and the Healing Cauldron.
That's, I guess, like, you know, you're up there to be criminalised for cannabis, and meanwhile you're given recommendations on cannabis-based products to the people that are punishing you. Like.
Exactly, which is why the lass from probation, as far as she's concerned, that she didn't need to do anything with us because I'm not some sort of wrong'un.
Yeah.
This is why I end up getting, like I say, getting suspended instead of getting 2 years straight away for something that, on an unfair trial, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but so like, and like let's get into that. I suppose the unfair trial. So you put forward a lot of evidence there, and they wouldn't accept that evidence.
Yeah, as part of Seeing Our Future, what we did was to write off to every single force in the country, the Crown Prosecution Service and the Home Office, and we asked each and every one of them to produce evidence for the claim that cannabis meets the criteria for a Schedule 1 substance, that it is a controlled substance and what is construed by misuse. So they all come back and said that they can't produce evidence for any of those three. Right, so every single force in the country, they can't produce that evidence. The Crown Prosecution Service has said that they can't produce that evidence. The Home Office have said that they've destroyed the evidence for enacting the Misuse of Drugs Act 1971, and there was something else I was going to say there that they've done, which has slipped my mind, but I'm sure it'll come back to us. That stuff I'm telling you, man, it's not good for the memory.
What is that actually that you're talking on?
This one is some Yeti OG.
Yeti OG. Oh, jeez, nice.
It really is. It's a nice fuely monster, like.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's spindly bugger though.
Yeah, I'm sure it definitely was needed after that stressful day you had yesterday, anyway.
Oh yeah. See, for me, the worst part is to know that. I mean, the Misuse of Drugs Act 1971, it was enacted a year before I was born.
Mm-hmm.
So it's my generation that's built this system. And to know that, like I say, there's nothing to back it up. What's his face? Crispin Blunt has said in Parliament twice that the scheduling system is completely unevidenced and that its foundation is the racist American policing of the 1950s.
Yep.
So we're still labouring on the preconcept the racism of the 1950s with this one piece of legislation. But it literally is one document is your source of institutionalized racism.
Yeah, well, it's quite evident, like in the US, that there was a racist kind of an approach, especially with the application of the law. But you see it in the UK as well, in London and stuff like that.
Anybody can find this document. If you simply Google WHO/APD/56, that will bring up a document. I can't remember the name of it, Cannabis and its effects or something like that. And that document is the foundation for the global Schedule 1 status of cannabis. And it is absolutely vile. Page 8 always sticks in my mind because it's just so ridiculous.
Wait,
it's done by an Egyptian.
What's on page
It's done by an Egyptian. It's done by an Egyptian doctor who reckons that Mohammedan men engage in cannabis abuse to get a sense of euphoria due to a lackluster sex life because they practice female circumcision.
And that's what's on page 8.
That's page 8 of the document that underpins all of this.
This is nuts. Like, you know, that's how absurd it is, and people don't realize that this is the foundation of what all of this stuff is really built upon. Like, it's a foundation of lies, spouted by a bunch of nut jobs who would have believed, you know, that condoms, you know, gay relationships, all of this stuff like that, all of this was immoral and it shouldn't be allowed. Anybody to engage in this sort of stuff should be, I would say they'd probably go as far as saying, you know, locked up and throw away the key and never be returned into society. Like, but
they used to do that not so long ago. I mean, look at that guy, I can't remember his name, Alan Turing.
Oh,
look at what they did. The man was a war hero, and look what they did to him.
Yeah,
absolutely vile. And you're going to tell me that he was the immoral one? Yeah, right, sure.
Yeah, and if people don't know what you're on about, Alan Turing, he was the guy who cracked the code there between the messages with the Nazis and stuff like that, and really helped win the war. Yeah, exactly. He built the code machine. Yeah, that was the one. But he was a gay man, and they chemically castrated him, and he later committed suicide after all of that.
Yeah,
man, absolutely. That's depressing. Like,
the British state, as far as I'm concerned, everything that I used to be a proud Brit at one time. I mean, my whole background, I went to Iraq in 2003 so I could gain a security clearance, which allowed us to work for the likes of British Aerospace, the Satellite Defence Network, the police, MPS, CPS, the Home Office, DWP, pretty much every government agency there is at one time or another. I've always been that proud patriot and all the rest of it. But these last 10 years, learning about all of this and actually learning about the history of Britain, you start to realise that the British state, they really are a rogue state.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at some of the absolute horrors that they put your country through.
Yeah, some messed up stuff there, and it's still kind of going on in ways, like, because there's lots of cover-ups going on still with some of the atrocities that went on before, you know. But we won't even get into that, because we could probably talk about that one for ages. But can I ask, when you were in the courts, did your military history get brought up at all? Were you credited at all for that?
I'm not ex-military. I've got a point now.
Okay.
I'm an IT tech by trade. I was a contractor.
But
so
still,
I've been going around all these different things.
You were still putting yourself in harm's way, going over into an active war zone. So.
Oh hell yeah! But it was the best job I've ever had. That one, it was incredible.
Yeah, but they didn't credit you.
That job has also shaped part of my opinions when it comes to all of this. Because now I know that war was all fought over oil, nothing else. Fossil fuels, something that's killing all life on Earth. Now, whilst I was out there, every now and again we would get a trip down to Kuwait. And to get to Kuwait, you had to go along a stretch of highway called the Highway of Death.
Yeah, I heard of that.
I don't know if you've... It was a war crime committed by the Americans during the first Gulf War, when they took out the front of a retreating army column, took out the back, and then obliterated everything in between. That was a war crime. I had to drive through that to get to Kuwait, and anybody who hasn't seen war, you haven't seen destruction like it. It's scary shit. Yeah, now. As I said, I know that war was all over oil. Now, in 1925, Henry Ford commissioned a study that concluded with only 6% of land set aside for industrialized cannabis cultivation, America would have been energy independent without the need for fossil fuels. Now, the thing that is going to bring this home to everybody is I'm going to give you a visualization. Now, it's February now, so probably March, April, we're going to start seeing big fields of yellow rape coming up all over the place. Yep. Now, rape, we only farm that for its seed oil, and a lot of it does go into biofuels, and it only produces 120 gallons of seed oil per acre. Now, if you want to be farming hemp there instead, capped to 0.2% hemp, you could be producing around about 300 to 1,000 gallons of seed oil per acre, and get all of the other byproducts that come with it. Or you can look at what Canada have done. They've removed the THC cap for industrial applications, which makes that acre 20 to 30 times more productive.
Yep.
With modern growing techniques such as hydroponics, we can increase that yield again by around 500%.
Crazy. They're pushing now again. I see in the US to try to lift the cap of THC on hemp to 1%. So they're pushing for that, and that be the reason why, because the efficiency of this genetics that you can get access to when you bump up this kind of arbitrary number that they come up with. But once you just remove these limits altogether, man, there's incredible potential there with the cannabis industry, because the amount of carbon that we were able to sequester into those plants, because like we might take the flowers off of it, but we're still left with so much fiber, so much hard there that could be used for building homes and all of this other stuff. You know, oh man, like again, this is another thing that we could talk all day on, is the benefits of this plant and the ending of the prohibition of it, because it's madness.
The most exciting project I've seen out there for cannabis, as far as I'm concerned, especially for industrial, as you've just said, the massive amount of carbon that can sequester 325 kilo for every ton cultivated.
Yeah.
If you want to check out a company called Gravitas Carbatura, they're setting up in Florida at the minute. They're going to be doing these, basically they're they're massive hydroponically grown cannabis sites, floor upon floor of them. What they're going to do, they're going to take the outside atmosphere, concentrate it inside, so that the plants are taking in as much carbon as possible, carbon from the atmosphere as possible. Those plants are then going to be digested into the various constituent parts for like energy production, all of your gases and your ethanols and all the rest of it. And then the waste, which is biochar, can either go into landfill, which obviously it makes your land a hell of a lot healthier, or it can be used for graphene production in stuff like graphene diamonds.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some incredible uses there of it. I think that the potential there for the batteries, that's an incredible one for its
Exactly. This is, I mean, everybody's energy bills are going up right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, 54% are going up because we're getting our gas from Russia.
Mm-hmm.
When if we'd just listened to Henry Ford 100 years ago, we would all be energy efficient as it is.
Yeah, it's crazy to think though that we would choose to grow rapeseed over hemp and restrict farmers in their ability to do that. If what you're saying there, they're being like, is it 1,000 to 2,000% increase in the amount that's produced per acre? It's just like, come here, it's a no-brainer. What are you waiting for?
Exactly. I mean, the THC cap, you want to remove that in any case, especially at this time in history, because they're all going on. Oh, we need drought-resistant crops. What the is this like? The whole reason the plant creates THC is as UV protection. It's to protect the next generation of seeds.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're never ever going to end up with 0.2% hemp. Is going to be really, really hard to stay on top of before too long.
Yeah. Well, that's what we do in Europe. You've got 64 or 5 of registered varieties, and you have to always be getting those seeds from a controlled source. So that they're always reproducing it, like, so that's how they keep a control on it, like. But again, that's keeping our farmers at an uncompetitive position, because again, if our farmers here are growing these 65 varieties that aren't worth fucking shite, really, like, to be honest. And meanwhile, like, the guys in Switzerland, let's say, like, who's right in the heart of Europe, like, even over in Italy, I believe that they've got better access to cannabis varieties over there. It's like, how the hell are the farmers ever going to compete here, like, the UK farmers, the Irish farmers, if we're going to be restricted in what we're able to produce?
Every farmer needs to take notice of hemp is around about what, £35,000 per acre at present, whereas weed, if you look to California,
mm-hmm.
$8.2 million per acre.
That's ungodly sum of money. That's an ungodly sum of money. That's crazy. But yeah, no, that is the potential one.
It gets better. For every dollar spent on weed, there's $3.50 is generated in the wider economy. So whereas that 1 acre of California is worth $8.2 million in weed,
mm-hmm.
it actually generates 16, 24,
3 times
right about $30 million of industry.
That is, that's mad to think of, And right now, that's all in the hands of criminals. And
exactly.
And that's seen as the better idea.
Exactly. They'd rather bang up somebody like me, who wants to work and pay taxes, and let the criminals go tax-free.
Yeah. How are we supposed to, like, once you see that, how are you supposed to unsee this? Like, once you experience it, you just can't ignore this, really. Like
I said, this is my world. This is my perspective on life every day. I know facing this austerity coming up, yet I can see $30 million of industry going begging for political and ideological reasons.
Yeah, but you're almost made out to be some sort of a loon bag if you try to start beating the drum on this one. Like, if you start speaking out about this.
Because being you who want to do good and have like carbon sequestration and fibres and hempcrete houses and all the rest of it, it's all just because we want to get stoned.
They say that, like, but that's what they try to make it out to, because the plant is just so fucking amazing. It can do so much that when you start talking about all of the other things, like people are just like, you're making this shit up just so you can smoke that shit, like, you know. And
Exactly.
it's like, what? It's like, no, but the plant
No.
really has 50,000 fucking uses, like, and you're going to judge me because of the one that I use it for? It's like,
Exactly.
it's so mad, man. And we've known this for a very long fucking time.
Those uses have been massively expanded thanks to advances in graphene production. I mean, I look at everything that we make with graphene.
Yeah, no, there's a lot there, right? There's a lot, and again, like we're hearing around the fucking before this pandemic shit, like, you know, we were hearing about climate change, you know, and we all have to do a thing, you know, reduce your carbon and we're just like, come here, let's have an adult conversation here about the ability of cannabis, like, and its ability. You know, it's somebody mentioned it here in the comments, you know, a few minutes ago, like that it's 4 times more efficient than trees. And trees are fucking kick ass, you know what I mean? I think trees are decent. We need to be planting more trees as well, you know. But
Right.
let's grow some
Right.
fucking cannabis, like, on a major level too, like.
You've obviously got access to a computer there, so I want you to go onto YouTube and find and type in UN temperature anomalies. Now, you're going to see a 30-second video with a circular thing with a date in the middle. Now, before it's only 30 seconds, but before you watch it, I want you to think about something.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 dates to cannabis prohibition: 1937, 1961, and 1971. 1937 is when cannabis prohibition started. So at this point, we've prohibited it. It's growing. 1961, we start the war on drugs. We've now moved to a position of eradicating it.
Yeah.
In 1971, we've added hemp to the single convention on narcotics. So for all of that time, we've eradicated part of our biosphere that sequesters 325 kilo of atmospheric carbon while burning through literally gigatons of fossil fuels and forests. Now, if you watch that video, you tell me you don't see correlation.
All right, I have it up on screen there now, so the people are actually seeing the video you're talking about there. At least it says global temperature anomalies from 1880 to 2018. Is this the right one? Yeah. All right.
I think it's a circle with the dates in the middle.
Yeah. Well, they're kind of the bottom center. Yeah, we're at 1900 here now, and it's just like everything looks nice and cool and stuff like that. We're hitting the 20s, 30s. Yeah, it's heating up. 40s cool down a little bit. 50s cool down a little bit. Boom. 60s. It's not so bad. 70s, we got a bit of a hit there. Yeah, as you say, like that they ramp up that war on drugs. Yeah, there's a bit of a runaway there at the end, isn't it?
Just a bit.
Just a little bit, like. So yeah, you could definitely see a correlation there, right? Like in some part with this prohibition. And wars of any kind are not good for our planet. Like, really, let's call a spade a spade.
Removing our atmospheric scrubber is a really, really bad move. It shows it. Yeah, all of your accelerated climate change models, a whole lot. All of it is a direct byproduct of this single policy.
Mm-hmm. Man.
Now, if we listen to Henry Ford in 1925, rather than Harry Anslinger in 1937, because he made all these white men be frightened about white women getting it on with black men, you know, we could be a very different world now.
We could be a much, much different fucking world. Like, imagine how much more progressive we could be. Or like, you think of all the great people who we've locked in behind bars just simply because they grew, sold, you know, possessed some cannabis. You know, and like I was reading there the Last Prisoner project over, and I seen they were sharing it on all their social media about a guy who got life in prison for $20 of weed. $20, like, you know, and he got life imprisonment. Fucking mad stuff like that. That was over on the Last Prisoner project. But they're always kind of at it over there in the US anyway. You know, this three strike rule is fucking nuts.
But again, if you look into this, Harry Anslinger, as far as he had no interest whatsoever in weed up until the likes of what's his face, the paper baron Randolph Hearst,
First.
up until he started paying him to have a real interest in it.
Yeah.
As far as he was concerned, it was completely benign.
But was
But once Randolph Hearst started throwing money at him, it was like, okay, then it's now a very, very dangerous drug. It's a scourge of white women everywhere.
But did Anslinger also had a role to play in the alcohol prohibitionist? What wasn't he at? He was an alcohol prohibitionist.
I'm not. I don't know too much about that side of it. I mean, there is actually a lady over your way, Orla Campbell.
Yeah, I know Orla.
Oh, I see. I mean, I ask her about all of that. Yeah, she's going to blow your mind there. Like, she's brilliant.
I must really get her on to pick her brain. She's kind of more of a historian there, but looking at it way back, like as far back as the what are those fucking the alcohol prohibitionists go back to the 1800s. What are they called? Suffragettes? Suffragettes? Is that what they were called?
No, it's not the suffragettes. It's
something else.
I cannot remember the name of it now. Actually, there was one of my mates. He's a metal detectorist. He actually found one of their one of the temperance movement. That was it.
Temperance.
Yeah, he actually found one of these temperance medals in Durham not so long ago that I sent out to her, and it was all about I will be sober and this, that, and the other all over it. And she's done a comparison of like 1880 odd and this new one from recently of just saying no sort of thing. Saying not a lot's changed. People really have an issue with people enjoying themselves, it would seem.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. I've just been around my local shop. They've got no issues with selling alcohol at 8:30 in the morning. I've just been around before, and they got talking about Stella, and I was saying I can't drink it. I find it way too bitter. That's behind the counter. Oh, I'll drink anything, me. And it's like the comparison is really, really strong. Everybody, like, they'll revel in getting pissed out of their head. I was guilty of this for years. I really enjoyed a good piss up as well. But when I know how harmful it is, it's a class 1 carcinogen that costs the NHS billions per year. It's also a known neural tremor and cause of psychosis. But it's everywhere, and it's part of our culture because it's a traditional drug, apparently.
Yeah, bread
and apparently cannabis is not a traditional drug. Right?
That's because they removed it from tradition.
Get this, all right? Tobacco apparently is regarded as a traditional drug. But tobacco would never have made it to the UK without cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
The ship that brought it back, the Ark Rally, Francis Drake's ship, it was all rigged with cannabis.
Yeah, that's right.
Why is tobacco a traditional drug and cannabis isn't?
Yeah. No, you're dead right, man. Like, if they were growing like the hemp, as they call it, for making ropes and sails and stuff like that, you telling me that they didn't use that goddamn sweet-smelling sticky flowers for you know, they used everything back then. Like, they didn't let nothing go to waste. You know, they collected the seeds, and you know, when their hands were all sticky, they rub it together and goes, boys, who's rolling the spliff there, lads? You know. Like, you know,
they found cannabis resin in Shakespeare's home.
Right, yeah.
One of his pipes or something.
Yeah.
As you come back to that point about like where ships and everything being rigged with cannabis, it's this plant built the British Empire, and it all goes back to Henry VIII, because he wanted a divorce. And the Catholic Church didn't believe in divorce.
That's right, yeah.
He decided that he was going to form the Church of England and founded Protestantism.
Just so he can get a divorce.
Now, that effectively cut us off.
She must have been an awful bitch, though, in fairness. Sorry.
Now, because of that cut us off from all trade with Catholic Europe. Effectively, the Brexit of its day. So to go and find other trading opportunities, what he did was to mandate that every farmer had to be farming a certain amount of hemp. because we're making all our ship's sails, all our ship's ropes, even right down to the ship's gunpowder was being made from it. On top of that, every ship in the British Merchant Navy was required to carry a cargo of hemp seed wherever they went. So now I'm saying hemp, and your head is going, I guarantee it's going straight to 0.2% hemp. But that 0.2% hemp is an aberration that didn't come around until the 60s.
Yeah.
So if you're going 10,000 miles from home, why would you limit the productivity of your foundation resource? Mm-hmm. You want it to be as productive as possible. So that all those plants would have been high THC, they're adaptogens, so they'll adapt their surroundings. They'll generate a THC to protect the next generation, the whole lot.
How could they even test it back then, Trev? They didn't even have the equipment. We didn't even discover THC until the 60s. It wasn't until like the Israeli guy, man, Raphael Malcolm, he discovered it. Yeah. So like they had it under this. So yeah, like when somebody says hemp to me, I think of clothes, I think of buildings, I think of fiber, I think of that part of the plant. All the rest of it then, like the seeds, the flowers, the leaves, that's cannabis to me. Even if it's 0.2%. Like if you say hemp to me, like I instantly think of fiber. And everything else in the plant is cannabis. And I think it bugs me, it irritates me actually with when people talk about like CBD and hemp CBD. I'm like, no, sorry, but you can't get CBD from fucking hemp, like, because you're like, the hemp is the fiber of the plant. And the rest of it, the flower, like, you know, that's the cannabis off the plant then, like that's the cannabis part of the plant. And
exactly, yeah. Now, a lot of these plants, they don't generate that much CBD in any case. Mm-hmm. You're far better off finding a good CBD cannabis plant. The one I would recommend anybody to have a look at is one that I did grow once called the CBD one by Ace Seeds. Something like 18% CBD, and it's got a really, really nice orangey smell to it. It's a belting straight, and it's a far bigger yielder than any hemp plant would ever be.
So what's it called again?
CBD number 1.
CBD number 1. And what company?
Ace Seeds.
Ace Seeds. Sweet. I'll have to stick that in the list because I know a few people who like the CBD varieties, so I'll keep that one on the list to recommend.
That was a belt. I'll tell you, another a real good company to have a look for is the Real Seed Company. They do a load of Afghan type stuff. They work with Afghan farmers. Mm-hmm. And you can get some of the plants, the landrace plants you can get from there are really, really cheap. I mean, you can get a dozen Waziristan hash plants for like 50 quid.
That's all right.
It's all regulars as well, so you've got breeding stock, so you can make your own.
That's where the real value is, like, is that in the breeding stock. But what?
Yeah, I wouldn't ever buy feminized.
No, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so sometimes for other people, there's the convenience side of it, but I'd be like yourself as well. I kind of like I would always have a preference for regular. I think it, like when they hit it with that colloidal silver or something, when they're playing around with that, if there's a plant that was destined to be male and now you've just messed with it genetically wise, like you got that Hermy fucking risk. I always just think of that at the back of my mind. But in saying that, when I was growing, I did grow my fair share of feminized just because.
Don't we all? I mean, start out with, like you say, I mean, I have picked up feminized seeds in the past and all the rest of it, but I've always looked to regulars as well, so I've always got male pollen for breeding stock. I like doing those breeding programs.
Nice, yeah. I see a few people in the audience there in the hot box, as we call the chat box here. There's a few people who are familiar with the Real Seed Company anyway. They're saying that they love it. That's Ballista Mastawes.
Yeah, the X18 Cider Kush, not a great plant to grow because it's really tight and horrible, mm-hmm. but the offspring are supposed to be absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, you say tight and horrible, but for me, it's straight away I just think of micro grows. You know, you just grow a bunch of them, you know, nice and tight together under the, you know, just grow top colas.
Grow top. There is plants like that, like your CBD1, your Bangi Haze, that sort of thing. I think you can do that and still get a decent yield.
Nice, yeah.
But this little cider kush thing, no, you wouldn't. You would want to end up chucking it out before too long, like.
Mm-hmm. And
I did.
and in your court case, I know, Trev, they basically said that they wouldn't accept the evidence because we kind of we stopped at that part. But after they didn't accept the evidence, then basically there was a part where the judge actually directed the jury to find
Uh,
against you.
no, what I was told by the barrister was that the judge would direct the jury to, I think it was section 4.1 of the Misuse of Drugs Act, don't quote us on that, that says, yeah, I've cultivated sort of thing, and I would be convicted on that alone.
So
Which,
that was your barrister who was saying this to you?
yeah. So it's basically saying that the judge isn't impartial. You can say, yeah, you're getting directed on this. So how is this a fair trial?
Yeah, that's messed up. So the judge actually didn't do it, but your barrister told you that the judge was going to do it if you
Yeah,
continued to plead not guilty and challenge the law as you are.
yeah.
Interesting. So like, yeah, do you think like I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking there like that your barrister really turned against you at that point.
I got absolutely shafted on the solicitor from, because the guy who had me case all the way through for the last year dropped us at the last minute, and I got a new one on the morning.
And what was that about? Why did that come about?
I've got no idea, because to be honest, I mean, he'd actually been
MI5 after you, boy.
probably. Me and Steve Harrison, Steve Harrison had come down and pitched our defence case to my barrister. Absolutely, all the way through there. The barrister sat there. He's completely engrossed. He's taking it all in. He's giving us pointers on strengthening it, and he's agreeing with pretty much the whole case, even the terrorism angle.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of it, he turned around and he goes, "If you don't mind us asking, who's financing you, lads?" The DWP. Yeah, it's years ahead of your time, like. So I think it's not, but as one of my other mates told us, another lad who's legally trained, being told that it's years ahead of its time isn't necessarily a good thing, because it just means it's not readily accepted. What we need to do is get into civil courts, as far as I can tell, and just start taking on the coppers who bust us. There has to be damages for that to be a claim. So I think that's got to be the way to do things now. Like,
all right. And the last time we were chatting, you said you were going to be going down that road. Did you go down that road afterwards?
not yet. I haven't. But now that we know what the damages are, I'm still waiting to get what the fine, victim surcharge, all the rest of it's going to be. No, take it from there.
Oh, so you're going to
Well, yeah,
include.
that will be happening.
So you'll include the fine you had to pay with this case in the damages in the case against that PC.
Yeah.
Sweet, yeah, that's good. At least at some stage you'll get that back.
Yeah, well, like I said, I already know it's going to happen in any case, because it's already happening in the States. They're expunging records right back to the 70s. They're reimbursing fines, reimbursing confiscations. You've got people getting compensation for time inside. And because they've got nobody else who can do the jobs, as well as all of these people that they've criminalized, they're all picking up these six-figure jobs.
Yeah.
It's $100,000 a year to grow weed. It's $250,000 a year to oversee it. You know, and meanwhile, they're going past the copper who bust them, who's still on 55 grand a year.
Burn.
Exactly. I mean, this country, it's just as mental. What many people don't realise is that this industry is already being taxed. It has been since 2014. David Cameron and George Osborne, they valued the black market for sex and drugs at £10 billion. Now, because the people who work in black markets tend not to pay taxes, they had to find a way to collect them in. Now, you and I, we accept that we pay a certain amount of our car insurance premiums now for uninsured drivers. But how many people know that they now pay a certain amount of their income taxes to pay for the income tax missed from the black market, to the tune of £10 billion per year.
10 billion, yeah, that's fucking a lot of money, boy.
Now, this is where it gets funny. That includes the police.
Mm-hmm.
Council taxes are about to go up 5% to pay for cuts to the police. So the police are contributing towards their own pay cut to a rise in council taxes to go out and repress a multi-billion-pound industry that each and every one of them are paying for through their income taxes.
Fuck, if you were to put a number on it, like what would you say the percent of time that the cops in the UK, like that the whole of the UK spend dealing with cannabis?
Million man hours per year, 200 million quid per year.
Say that again. 1 million hours?
1 million man hours and 200 million quid per year.
1 million man hours. Good Lord.
Devoted solely to cannabis.
Solely, yeah. That's an awful lot of hours. You know, like how many, like how many hours do you have in a lifetime?
We only have something like 120,000 coppers, so that means like every copper's got to be doing what, at least 10 hours?
Yeah. Fuck's sake. So what's are you gonna?
That's actually not a lot when you think about it. 10 hours over a year per copper. That's actually not 1 million man hours. It sounds like a lot, but we've got 120,000 coppers. It's really not.
But when it is,
also,
when
why are they spending 200 million?
Yeah, but it is a lot. Like when you think that any amount of time that they're spent dealing with that is time they're not spent dealing with more. And apparently they hate when you say this, but like with real crimes, with serious crimes, you know, crimes with actual victims. Apparently the cops hate it when you say that to them, you know, that like, oh, why don't you go after real criminals? But it's just like, oh, they hate when you tell them the truth. Because I was in the cell there, was it last week? And the cop, I was talking to the cop. He seemed to be a sound enough guy, reasonable enough, having a bit of a back and forth conversation, nice and reasonable. But I kind of said it to him at one point because I was having a bit of a breakdown inside in the cell. I was just like, oh, this is annoying now that you have to put me in the cell. Like, just bring me in to get the interview done and get me out the gap. Like, oh, but you have to do this. It's procedure. And it's like, I know it's procedure. You want to torture me, isn't it? Like, I goes, this is wrong. I goes, this is a violation of my human rights, and you're enabling it, I was saying to him. And he was just like, just doing my job is kind of what he was saying. He goes, yeah, you're just doing your job. I was like, just go away from me now. I goes, before I kind of lose the plot. I was saying, I goes, you know, you're just doing your job. I goes, your job is you should be after real criminals. And that's when he said it to me. He goes, Jesus, we hate it when you say, people say that to us, because, you know, you broke the law, Martin. He said, you are a criminal. I was just...
Go and get that evidence. Go and find the evidence to back up your claims. Yeah. You are the fucking criminal.
Yeah.
As what's his face, Crispin Blunt has said in Parliament, right? There's no evidence to back up the scheduling, and it's all motivated by American racism. If you look at the Terrorism Act 2000, it defines terrorism as the use of force with a political, ideological, racist, or religious motivation.
Yeah.
So every single one of our coppers, it's the political and racist use of force with relation to cannabis. That's a breach of the Terrorism Act.
Yeah, no, it was a law that was born to spread fear in our society, that if you want to go out and, as you said earlier, you know, if you want to go out and enjoy yourself, which many of us do with cannabis, and you know, they're going to come after you. They're going to take away your freedom, your liberty, you know, and they want to spread fear in our society in order to deter you from making that choice. And again, that's a form of torture, like, you know, that's wrong, because you're interfering again with freedom of choice, freedom. It's just messed up, like. So what's next for yourself, Trev? I wanted to ask, like, are you going to appeal this case now at all? Are you going to
I think if I go for appeal, I'll get shafted.
Really?
Whereas if I go for civil, I can say, look, I didn't want to plead guilty, but I did simply to stay out of jail.
Yes. Okay. That's you.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. Look, he has a reason why, and he has all the documentation that I tried to input, but they decided that they wouldn't have anything to do with. Now, if I raise a civil case, they can't stop the entrance of all of that documentation.
So they can't make your evidence inadmissible if you start a civil case.
Yeah.
And what's the problem or the barriers for entry there? Is that costly like the other cases then?
I've got absolutely no idea as of yet. I've not even looked into it. I'm letting the dust settle and clearing the head and all the rest of it, and then I'll probably get back into it next week.
Fair enough. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm following on down a similar path as yourself, but I'm doing it without the legal assistance. Just kind of throw myself into the fucking lions. Then I suppose, if you will, the proverbial lions. Then I was in court.
We need to start convincing the lads who are doing this of what they're doing, because they genuinely don't. I mean, I found that out for myself. The two lads who dropped me off after me bust, I asked them what they would think if they found out that everything they were doing was based on nothing at all. And they said that they obviously wouldn't be too happy about it. But that's the position that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
Because of my background of working in their side of the fence, I know how they work. They're expecting somebody up the line in the chain of command to have everything that they need to secure a conviction and make sure that they're doing their job correctly. They don't realise that there's absolutely nothing behind it, and people are just being fraudulently criminalised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
genuinely don't.
Yeah, it will be quite upsetting, all right, for many of them. But surely, like, how can they be oblivious to, like, what are the damages of what it is that they're doing to people, especially people like yourself, Trev. Come on, like,
I genuinely think they don't care.
You think, yeah, I suppose ignorance is bliss and all of that, like, yeah, fair enough, yeah. You got a fan out in the audience there. I just spotted Outlaws after dropping in. He says that he loves your mindset, and he says to go get him, brother.
Thank you very much, young, and I'll do my best.
Yeah, he also says
I'll be topping you for me fine.
He's also thrown in there, right, saying that raise the civil charges after the charges are done or dropped. Yeah, 100%. So and apparently, like, Outlaw's been dealing with the legal side of stuff over there in the UK. So. It seems like you're doing something right anyway, according to the Outlaw. So yes, keep that up, man. I suppose when is the next kind of outing in the UK? Is there any upcoming protests or anything like that happening around us, or are you kind of out of the loop and all of that?
To be honest, I've been completely out of the loop for the last year. I don't know anything that's going on. It's been nice just to step back from everything and concentrate on me for a little while. I'll be getting my head back into this very, very shortly. I mean, if Mr. Outlaw there wants to get these outlaw solicitors to talk to us, I'm sure I can come up with something.
Savage, yeah, that'll be good, man. I think that would be a nice old kind of partnership there, I suppose, to be working with, because I always think that yourself and Outlaw and some of the other guys over there, like, I think Outlaw does some really good stuff in terms of, like, getting the attention, like, on social media and all of this kind of stuff, like, so I think with working with people like yourselves, then, like, there's faces there that could be put to it, and you can capitalize off that then in a much realer sense, like. But I think it's people power that's going to get this done. It's numbers, like again, like, I'm only one person over here, but what I managed to achieve through my actions last year, I planted cannabis plants across the city here in Cork, in a number of public places, done it live on video, like, stated my case as I was doing it. But the cops had to come and remove those. I went straight back down and put more there. They removed those. I went down, put them more again, and they removed those. So I kept on getting the highlight there, the waste of time that was going on there, because these plants, like, they were never going to reach any level of maturity where they could have produced, like, nice big fat buds, because they were all males. They were gifted to me by a buddy who was growing regular plants, and he was giving me his males. So I was just like, that's the job. We'll make good use of these. And some of them were quite nice size, but they were never going to be putting out any buds.
A good reason to get male plants out there, as well as that they're a late pollen source for bees.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Nice fact.
If you look at the Colorado hemp fields in the UK, down the eastern coast, we've lost 17 species of honeybees. Whereas in Colorado, the hemp
Fuck.
fields out there are attracting 23 types.
Yeah, and why again cannabis as a crop is much better than many other crops out there because it can be grown without many of the traditional pesticides that are used in many of the mono crops that we grow, such as rapeseed, which a lot of the times is modified in a way in which it can actually handle more pesticides because why it doesn't have a natural defense that is present in the cannabis plant. Cannabis therefore then needs much less pesticides as a result, so therefore it's much friendlier to the native bee populations. Save the bees, grow
Exactly.
some
So
cannabis, guys.
it's also an accumulator. It's also an accumulator plant, so it pulls out any toxins out of the soil and converts them into sugars and everything else that the plant can use.
Yeah, yeah, no, there's a lot of benefits there for that. Like that's true. Who was it that was saying it actually? It was Billy Bonds only saying it to me yeah, 2 days ago. There, I was chatting to Billy Bonds, and he was talking about that. He was trying to apply for the license to grow on his allotment, but he couldn't get the agreements there, or whatever. He wanted to grow the hemp on his allotment to remove any heavy metals or toxins that might be present in the land as a bit of a
Yeah,
biointermediary before he grows his food there. It's like, yeah, why
yeah,
shouldn't you be allowed to do that?
yeah. That's what everybody should be doing.
Yeah.
It's rotation crop farming. You're basically regenerating your land, and then anything that you put into that land afterwards will increase its yield by 20 to 30%. Meanwhile, we've got people going to food banks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've got everything there. We've got all the know-how and all the rest of it. What we're lacking is political will and people's knowledge for the most part. But even then, I'm going to go back. I think it really is political will because it was a few years ago. I repped for the British Hemp Association, British Hemp Alliance, I think it is at the minute, at the Walsingham show, which is the oldest farmers show in the UK. And the whole time I was there, everybody was really, really interested in anything to do with hemp. But literally 95% of them that came to see us were all interested in the good stuff. And when you're talking to farmers and you're telling them, it's a difference between 35 grand a year and 6.3 million quid per year.
Yeah. Why the fuck aren't they fighting for it though? Like?
Because it's a harmful drug and all the rest. And if you write off to, I think is it DEFRA where you get your licenses from, a Home Office, sorry. It costs you 600 quid just to ask for a hemp license.
Yeah.
600 quid just to ask for one. Why? Why do I need to shell out 600 quid just to ask?
Yeah, yeah. How does that compare to other like crop licenses? Like if you want to grow tomatoes, like is there what's the tomato license?
Not one that I know, Wayne. That might be for like commercial sized crops and all the rest of it, but not to do in my back garden.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, it's crazy. And it's such a beneficial one too. You go down to the high street, like, and you're paying top dollar there for a bottle of oil that you could easily, be producing a couple, a good number of those bottles of oil from what 2-3 plants there that you grow out your back garden, free under the sunshine. You grow those, you extract them yourself, do a little bit of a home thing, and guess what? Then, if you started doing that, like much like others that I've talked to who started growing cannabis and processing that, it's a gateway. It's a gateway to other things, like, because these people now have got like fucking all sorts of tinctures in their cupboards that they've been procuring themselves from the garden, because it's like, did you know actually oregano is really good? And I'm like, yeah, no, I knew oregano was really good. Yeah, I started growing a load of it now, and I made my own oils with it, and it's like, oh yeah, fuck
I used to hate gardening, but now my backyard, it's all full of various different herbs.
Boom, there you go. Like the knock-on effects, like the benefits just never ending with this plant. Like,
yeah, it teaches you a lot. I mean, everything, because we know that all of this is everything behind all of this is a massive conspiracy. You start to learn about not just the plants, but everything else that I can do, which leads you into socioeconomics and geopolitics and all the rest of it. This is why now I can now, because of everything I've learned about weed over the last 10 years, I can equate everything I saw on the highway of death in Iraq to the greed of a THC cap. Which is, I mean, to see that sort of destruction over something that we could have had from a farmer's fields for the last 100 years, it's obscene.
Yeah, it is. It's insane, but it's just too insane that people don't believe that it could be true.
Exactly. Which
But it
again,
is. It's fucking very true, like.
people are insane. I mean, every day gives me a reason to despair for humanity. Like, it's usually a Daily Mail comment section.
Yeah, yeah. Well, can I ask your opinion on something? I suppose because like I like a lot of the approach there that I've seen from Outlaw. It's just I've never seen his defense in action. You know, he's saying accept nothing, challenge everything. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what's your thought on that approach? You know, if you're going down the road and yeah,
Yeah, we have to do it, right? I mean, I'm going to hold my hands up. I drop my arse. I don't want to spend. I've worked in prisons. I don't want to go and spend any sort of time in them.
mm-hmm.
So to be told that you're going to be sent down no matter what, right? I'd rather be doing something from here than doing something from there.
Yeah. So if that works, right? Like, and that this is where I kind of get the problem, like, Lion, is that if this works, like, well, why isn't it being done en masse? Like, well, why isn't there, like, again, the Cedar Future, we the Undersigns, the Outlaw, like, well, why aren't the followers there going out, like, and meeting up every Sunday, guys? Let's go down to the cops and accept not and challenge everything. 100 of us, let's go down with our little baggies. And like
Yeah,
through that, then you're really going to get the detention entity of power that hires up, because if they have to start processing some of this shit, like that's a lot of paperwork, and if the outcome is going to be null and void, you know, as in, you know, if Outlaw's defense, if this approach is successful, then that's going to really bother the powers that be. It's just like
as far as I'm concerned, right now, it's the kind of thing that we need to be doing, because the one thing I did notice is that the prosecution were constantly whinging on about costs.
yeah, cost, yeah.
So the more of us that do this, the more we're going to bankrupt them.
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, and I it has to be like I say weekly, but you nearly want to go as far as daily, like, you know, and you just need a core of committed people, and just repeatedly going doing it, like in all the different jurisdictions there, like, and I want it. That's what I'm pushing for here in Ireland, like, and I'm
I've been saying this for years. I mean, when I first found out all about this several years ago now, I held conversations with people at the top of all these organisations who were at the time, and there was a one-day furore and then nothing from there. You know, it wasn't until I got in with Cedar Future and particularly Steve Harrison, I'll say, that things kind of kicked off, because once I sat down and taught him my defence in that they have got nothing to back up the charges, and he got to see it, he was from there it really started the ball rolling.
Mhm.
Once Guy Coxall got hold of that information, he started looking at everything with brand new eyes. That turned into the Cedar Future report. I've heard that Cedar Future could be having a little bit of input for Outlaw's judicial review as well. I think they've done a little bit of like a judicial review document sort of thing with the help of WTU. Well, I don't know how much I can put into that or not. It was something I heard a while ago, but it would be nice to see all of that information used, especially in something like that, because that judicial review is vital now. I mean, I know that people are getting conned, they're being defrauded, they're being taken the piss out of. We desperately need things to change on this front.
Big time. And
And
again,
I really hope that one day that all of these hearings are recognised for what they are, which is literally state-sponsored terrorism.
man, boom, that's fucking straight from my hymn sheet anyway, man. I sing that all the time. State sponsored terrorism. That's exactly what the prohibition of drugs and the enforcement of it is. You're spreading fear in society just to achieve a political, you know, moral. Again, like, you know, it's not based on any scientific fact at all. It's not backed up in science. It's completely fucking ideological.
Exactly. I mean, Crispin Blunt has told us this.
Mm-hmm.
This is now on Hansard. This is on record. Yet these coppers, They're not checking that out.
Yeah.
If they followed their own guidelines, PACE code G, they've got to have fully evidence justification before they can move to arrest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as the copper at the Durham Nick told us, like, we've got your cannabis. He's like, yeah, you've got cannabis, but you haven't got evidence for Schedule 1. That claims false by representation, which is obviously the Fraud Act.
Mm-hmm.
No, they wouldn't have it as far as they're concerned. It's weed, that's it, you're done. They don't have to present anything for the claims around it. It's
system's rigged, like.
It's a con.
It's, yeah. So why
participate? Working with that system recognise it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, like say the probation officer, I ended up giving her a referral to a couple of CBD companies because a 7-year-old son suffers with IBD.
Yeah, and it's good for that. Like, yeah, I know a lot of people are using cannabis for IBD related issues, like, and it works wonders for them.
This last looked almost apologetic as she sat there going, trying to deal with this because she'd obviously read up on some of these things.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know. Effectively, I don't know why you're here.
I don't understand it either. You know, it's just like, fucking tell the judge, like, come on, like, well, why are you saying it to me? Like, you know, speak up about something. Like,
say it to them.
Yeah, you're part of the system, like, you know, it's like they don't believe that they're allowed to change it or something. It's just like, this is why we've such a broken system, like.
Even the judge was saying, like, where despite that there's all these different things going on all over the world, this is how we do things in this country, so this is what we're going to do.
Again, I say, man, it's people power that's going to change. Just like if we're going to try to play these games in the courts, like we're going to be playing around for a long time, because, like, as you learned, that they raided your gaff last year, you had to wait fucking over a year for your case to find its way to the courts, only then to kind of find out, you know, oh well, this didn't work this time, like, you know, and you're on to the next thing then afterwards, like. But that's a long fucking time. Whereas if we just committed, like, you see, what was it in Hyde Park, 12,000 people, you know, it's like,
yeah.
Stop sitting around in the park smoking weed and actually present yourself. Go to to the cops and actually be like, look, there's 12,000 of us here. Get out your pen and paper. Start taking names. Let's go. You know, and we'll be back again tomorrow. You know, and like, have a look. And I bet you, if you look at your prisons right across the UK, right, and look at the numbers, I bet you all of those, much like Irish prisons, are operating at near or at capacity. Because that's where it's most profitable for them to be, or most efficient for them to be operating at near or at, or sometimes fucking over capacity. Irish prisons, a lot of those were actually at about like 105, and some of them are at 110%. When I was looking at the numbers there going back in 2016, 2017, as part of stuff for the SSDP, the prisons, like, you know, so the enforcement of this law is, it's not possible. Do you know what was going on in the Irish courts? You got caught with cannabis. It's like you pay money to a fucking charity box there, you get off without a conviction. Because why? They don't really want people to be kind of having convictions, because if you've got a conviction, they're going to have to probably lock you up the next time, and they can't really lock you up because the prisons are fucking chock-a-block. They're trying to save room for people with their TV licenses.
them prisons are chock-a-block with people worth 45 grand per person, though.
Yeah, 80 grand per person here in Ireland.
There's something just kind of sprung to mind as you're sitting talking about all that there, and it's literally, if the right and proper channels were in any way effective, we would never be allowed access to it. That's the way I look at it at the minute.
Yeah.
This is why it costs so much to get justice in this country.
That's not fair, man. That's if justice is out of your reach because your pockets ain't deep, that's not justice. It's not justice. Like that's a corrupt system. Like, that's a broken fucking system. Like,
yeah.
Like, again, I was in front of the judge the last day, and I was sitting in the court, and I watched about 30 cases, maybe 40 cases, and there was about 14 of them before I had left, and there was a number more after I'd left, apparently all for cannabis. So in the space of time I was there was easily a quarter of the cases I watched were cannabis related. And I seen the way the judge dealt with people for the cannabis against other people. You know, there was people up for smashing bottles off their girlfriends' heads, for robbing €350 off of two young fellas after attacking them. You know, and the judge had much more like fucking disdain towards the person with the cannabis than he did for these people, you know, because the guy who bottled his old doll, well, he was drunk at the time and it was a bit out of character. He's not normally like this, you know, because a bit of fucking sympathy there for the drunken lad, because, you know, and the same then for the other lads who attacked the two young fellas and robbed their money and phone and stuff off him. That there was no real contempt there for those behaviours. It's like, oh yeah, he's got 70 convictions. Oh yeah, no bother. Yeah, no bother. 3 months there. Look, we'll suspend it though, you know, or you might do a month of it, you know. And just like it's a joke. Like there was a fella €10 worth of cannabis and he got a 3 month suspended sentence. €10 worth of cannabis, like. So if he fucking sneezes the wrong way going down the road, like he's going to get his sentence activated, like.
It's.
But that's torture again. That's torture, like, again, to people.
It is.
For what? Where's
Cruel
his
and
victim?
unusual punishment. Especially when all of it is unwarranted. They're literally unwarranted because there's nothing to back up the claims that they make around cannabis.
Mm. Yeah, that's.
And if any of them actually did their job, followed PS Code G, they would find it for themselves. I did. That's how I found it.
And how did you come across this? Like, you just done your research?
That's right. My whole background, right? I'm a former MOD to IT tech. My whole life is change of command and rules of law.
Mm-hmm.
So the way where I've got full respect for how those systems work. So if I'm going to get a network to work, I follow procedures.
Yeah.
That's what I did with the charges. I follow procedures. PS Code G says you've got to have fully evidence justification for arrest. If you don't, then you leave yourself open to challenge and civil claim. So it's literally their guidelines. You've got to have fully evidence justification. You don't have that, you can be done. And so I went and asked the police if they had it,
and they don't have it.
So why would I believe them?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I believe them if they said that?
But like, man, what I don't understand. Like, I suppose if you could continue yesterday with the not guilty, and he gave you the 2 years, could you have appealed that straight away and just continued on, like, in the courts or
I honestly think that the appeal could be a silly way to do things straight away.
Yeah.
Because if you go for the appeal, you're still playing by the same rules and they can shaft you. I think going for the civil and getting your win there, because it's on 51% of probability, then go for your appeal.
Yeah, but if you appeal on the grounds of the inadmissibility of the evidence, can a judge in the next case allow it, or is it still inadmissible then? You see, this is the bullshit about it, man, because I'm standing there in front of a judge and I'm refusing to get the legal advice because I don't want to fucking play their games. I don't want to get tied up in the webs that they've spun to get you tangled, to get you tied up in their fucking bullshit. I'm standing in front of them. I'm a fucking human being. Like, I have human rights. Yeah. I'm going in there looking at my human rights. They're plain and fucking simple. They're not overly complicated to me, and you're violating them. There's a prohibition on fucking torture. It's like, enforce that before you enforce a prohibition of drugs, because I'm telling you right now what you're doing enforcing this prohibition of drugs is fucking torturous. Oh, man, I just get right up about it.
But the inclusion of cannabis in the war on drugs exacerbates resource wars across the world, which creates all manner of willing martyrs for your war on terror.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a massive, because of the diversity of this resource, it makes it so much of a bigger picture.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. How do we have any way out of this, Trev, man? Did you see any light at the end of the tunnel like that this year, 2022? I had a lot of hope for 2022, at least from an Irish perspective. Like, but fuck, man, it seems like you've a bit of a way to go yet in the UK. It seems.
It's completely backward, this country. Like, I mean, despite the fact that like say the barrister was saying, oh, we know things are going to change soon and all the rest of it. It's like, I don't care. It needs to be changed now. And you just need to be looking at this a hell of a lot closer because you don't realise what you're doing. And our politicians are telling us this is a terrorism act now.
Yeah, when your own politicians are telling you, like, you know, you would think that change isn't there. But again, you say it needs to happen now, it needs to happen yesterday. Like,
Completely agree. Like I say, for me, it should have been happening a lot sooner than now. I mean, just from a climate change aspect, I mean, you know, we've got 8 years until we start hitting catastrophic tipping points. And we don't just need legalization, we need industrialization across the world as fast, as rapidly as possible, to draw down as much CO2 as possible. But then, before all the methane gets released.
Yeah.
Once that methane gets released by those mountain glaciers, we're all fucked.
Do you think so? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Carbon is it's quite a decent driver of climate change, but nothing compared to methane. Methane's so like 7-8 times worse than carbon.
Yeah. It's about its ability to trap the heat within our atmosphere, so it can penetrate through. But once it's in here, then like it has a much higher ability to actually capture heat within our atmosphere. Yeah.
And there's various glaciers are melting at the minute at massive rates that are releasing massive amounts of carbon. I mean, once all your permafrost and all that goes, we are in very, very scary times as far as I'm concerned. Like,
I hear you, man. For me, it's hard to fucking focus on this when at any moment, you know, you could be fucking dragged before the courts over this shit. Like, you know, having your freedom taken away. Like, I don't know. I definitely think I have a form of fucking PTSD lingering over me since they put me into that prison for those. Like, it was only a fucking short stint as well. It was supposed to be 2 months, but I only was in there for 5 days when I refused to pay the fines and I wasn't showing up in court and stuff like that for cannabis charges.
right.
But that fucked up my head. It's just kind of like this thing is always an issue at the forefront. It's hard to put it aside now. And
yeah, I would never ever trust a copper again. I used to think that the system worked for us. Now I know it doesn't.
well, my kids don't like the cops anymore. Like I'm having a conversation with my 8-year-old and the other day, and she was telling me how the cops are bad. And I was like, why are the cops bad? And I was just like having a conversation, going a bit further, trying to get her to explain it. Like, and it was because of what happened with me. She was there when we got removed from the car. The car was searched. She was there when the cops came calling to looking for me there not too long ago. And this has a fucking effect on these young kids. You know, these cops are supposed to be protecting them in society, and now all of a sudden they want to take away their dad because of this thing that enables me to fucking be a better person in my eyes anyway, because it makes me more grounded, present, patient. The list goes on.
Best antidepressant go, and it lowers cortisol levels and meets the stress response.
Yeah, definitely. Like
why it's such a good PTSD drug.
Yeah, I would definitely say the first time I met cannabis, it enabled me to be more engaged with my own thoughts. That's kind of how I looking back at it now, I've gotten a lot of time to reflect on it. And it's just like, before I tried cannabis, I wasn't engaged in my thoughts. I wasn't thinking things through. I was very impulsive. I was just always like just fucking overreacting and shit like that. Like, never really thinking about what it was that I was doing, and that had negative consequences. I started using cannabis. I started thinking about things. I started making better decisions in life.
I've got to admit, it's kind of did that for me as well. I mean, I calmed me head down a hell of a lot. So I will say I think it extended me work life when I was doing like all the MOD stuff. I think I would have been knackered without it. Oh yeah, it's the mental aspects of it, being able to look at the world in different ways because of it, seeing different aspects of life because of it. Because of the way it slows your thought process down, it does make you a lot more thoughtful. Yeah, it's a remarkable substance as far as I'm concerned, and something that should be in wide supply.
What do you think of the UK's private prescription model that's currently active over there?
Again, this is something I came up with, Cole. I can
That came up in your court
I
case.
can legally I can legally go out and buy cannabis on prescription because I've got one of the things that Professor Mike Barnes did for us was a report to say that I would qualify for a cannabis prescription.
Yes.
So I can shell out for a cannabis prescription, but I can't grow it for myself.
Why? Like, why?
I've got to pay over the odds for something I can produce for a
Yes.
fraction of the cost.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, Billy Bonds was describing that as economic discrimination. Like, if you were in a position where you couldn't afford to be buying these overly priced medical cannabis-based products, as they call them, and you choose to grow your own, and you get criminalized for that, then it's just like there's a form of discrimination going on there.
It's an apartheid state.
Yeah, it's the haves and the have-nots, those who have enough money to get down there and get it, like, and it's sickening what they've done there, and again, people are very aware of, geez, her name was actually Murray's mom, geez, Karen
Gray.
Karen Gray, yes, Karen Gray, the stuff that they've been put through, the fundraising and all of this crap, like, in order to get their child this life-saving medicine. But meanwhile, the state spares no expense in bringing Trev Coleman to court, to be bringing the Lisa Middleton to court, to be bringing get the thousands of other people across the UK to court. The amount of millions wasted on, the addiction treatments that get prescribed to people. yeah, the drug courses and all of this kind of nonsense. Like that's all taxpayers' money that could have all been used, to fund Murray's medicine, and the many other kids out there who are currently still privately funding their medicine, off the back of the public, a lot of the times, through the generosity of GoFundMe's and stuff like that. It's sickening, like. It's sick, and this is why I get really angry then as well as to why the fuck people aren't out there. If Outlaws Defence work, why the fuck isn't there 100 people committed to just racking up the cases, just racking up the numbers, just adding to those man hours? Let's turn that million man hours into 2 fucking million man hours through sheer will and fucking determination. Like, let's double it, let's triple it, let's quadruple it. Not for ourselves, not so we can get high, but for the sick fucking children out there who need us to stay fucking alive. Can get it, because look, I don't need us to stay alive. I don't know about you, Trev, if you need it to stay alive, but I'm not sick and disabled. I suppose I can get out there and I can stand up, and I'm willing to go to prison for this, because look, I won't die without this, but there's kids out there who will. So that's why I'm willing to go to prison for this, because it's just wrong. It's sick, and for me, it's just like I see this injustice, and I can't stand idly by, and not do something about it. Like, as I say, I don't accept it to be changed today. I want it to be done yesterday.
Exactly, me as well. There's 365 seizures every single day.
Jeez, man.
A fraction of them actually did something. It would all be massive.
365, like, man, that is a crazy number, 365. So like, at a minimum, you would have to say then that there is about 720 cops. Let's say there's 2 cops there per every case. 720 cops every day who are not out there protecting the young vulnerable people out there who are preyed upon by fucking predators in our communities, and even the vulnerable elderly people who get preyed upon by predators in our communities, who the cops are supposed to be protecting you from. It's like, man, why are we not getting angry about this shit and actually going out? It's just like, no, we
because
made it around.
You just want to get stoned, that's why.
It's not even about that anymore, like, that's how it all began for me.
It's not to me or you, but it is to millions of them out there.
Yeah. It just enrages me, man. It really does. Like, and I suppose that's kind of where I kind of had a bit of a like, I was questioning your Man Outlaws' approach. I was just like, I wanted to see this thing work, and I want to see people acting, and it's just like, my problem is it's not happening fast enough.
Exactly. Well, it comes down to people just having the balls to say they get the standing. not guilty for as long as possible.
Yeah, yeah.
Once they decide that they're going to bend, you're over. Right, fair enough. There's your damages. Let's go for civils.
Yeah.
And we'll go after the coppers themselves. It's the only way. If we don't go after the coppers themselves, they're going to keep doing it.
And I don't think we have the same thing over here in Ireland. I don't think we can take civil cases against the cops. I think we'd have to be taking it against the state, I'd say, or against the fucking the guards.
That's judicial review then.
That's straight to the judicial review. Yeah, and again, that we're talking money then at that point.
250 grand.
250 grand.
Whereas, but if you look at the Police Federation have already said that every single copper is an independent legal entity. So they've got to make sure that they've got it right. Otherwise, they're the ones who face a civil case. It's the Nuremberg approach. If you look at the Nuremberg trials, all the ones who were lined up against walls were the ones who were carrying out the orders. The ones who were given the orders, they all went off to the likes of America and South America and under Operation Paperclip to form NASA and the UN and everything else.
And how many people do you know are going to be taking this kind of civil approach, like yourself? Do you know if there's others lined up to be?
I hope so. I really hope so, because I think it's the only way we're going to do it.
And do you know, does that process take long at all, like from start to finish? No idea?
No idea, but I've got no doubt they're going to try and drag it out as long as possible.
No doubt, yeah. Like especially like you've such a strong argument in my eyes, like the fact that they were making it all inadmissible in court, it just speaks to the strength that there must have been within that evidence if they wanted to accept that. It's like, oh fuck, get out of there with that stuff, like, you know, don't be bringing that in here at all, because like we can't argue against you.
Exactly, it's like, yeah, we've got evidence of no evidence, but that doesn't matter because we're going to listen to the prosecution in any case.
Oh man. Have you been to? I suppose let's cheer it up a little bit. Have you been to Gary Ude's place? Because I see he's up and running recently.
No, not yet, but I will get down to Liverpool eventually. I absolutely love that city. It's me. Probably my third favorite city in the UK.
Nice. Have you got any plans to get down there? Like, how far away are you from there? How difficult would it be for you to get down there?
It's about 3 hour drive or so from me.
Sweet, because I'd love to catch up with you over there, because I intend to get over there. I want to have Gary on as a guest, but I actually want to do it over there in person and experience it for myself as well. So I'm hoping to do that in the next couple of weeks if possible.
If that's the case, it's a date. I'll make the effort.
Excellent. I look forward to that, man. It'll be a bunch of legends under there. Maybe Outlaw might pop down and grace us with his presence and Simpa as well, and we can have a proper gathering. So exactly, yeah. That'd be an epic gathering.
Getting out.
Yeah, I think it was. Who was I talking to? I don't know. Was it a Simpa? I think, or somebody was. Somebody was saying that. That it was that Outlaw was down at Gary's place there recently, but he didn't have his mask on. He was just down there as himself or something like that. So I don't know. He's out there. He's out there in the comment section or so. If he can confirm or deny that one, or.
Well, I know Simpa was there, so I can probably guarantee it. Like.
Yeah. No, but it's no, I definitely would love to meet up with yourself and again Gary, Simpa, and yeah, if Outlaw actually comes down, that'd be a good crack too. And I won't ask you to take off your mask, dude. And I definitely know hard feelings against them. Is just again a lot of the issues I had is just I just wanted this shit to be rolling, going, like action. It's just.
Like I say, I've been sat here 8 years now knowing about this lack of evidence for the charges, and I'm glad to see that people are, especially with Outlaws, I mean, what he's doing, these social media type stuff, saying, look, there's no evidence for any of this, and it's finally starting to get people's attention. Mm-hmm. And people are saying, I hope it gets them angry now, like, because that's what we need. We need people to get angry about this.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Not only just get angry, but get active. You need to turn that energy into something and do something about it, because like you get angry.
Anybody who's watching this who've got friends, family, whatever in the security forces, the coppers, go and sit and talk to them, show them the terrorism act and all the rest of it. Yeah, look, this is what you're doing. We need to get through to these people. At the end of the day, they are part of our community, so we need to get through to them.
Yeah, no, you're dead right. Oh, you're spot on. I see my daughters actually after dropping into the chat box there as well.
Come and say night night, Daddy.
I know. Yeah, what are you doing up so late? But come here, Trev. It's been a great crack chatting with you, man. I'm not too sure if you got much else to do, but I don't want to be rushing you off or anything. But I'm just conscious of the.
I'm cracking for a brew and a joint now, so I am going to bugger off. Like,
Yeah, no, because it's been a great chat with you, man, and thanks very much for
absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, man.
yeah, no problem, Ron. And come here, I'll be in touch with you soon. We'll arrange a date for over in the chilling rooms, and we'll be probably going over for what's the other one, the Planet Earth Expo as well. There's talks of plans for that as well. So I don't know if you're around, so it'll be another good opportunity to catch up for the weekend.
Yeah, I think I'll make the effort this year because I still haven't done Product Earth yet, so I really like to do that one.
Nice, yeah, it'll be a first for me as well. So we could do pop the cherry together.
Bring it on, lads.
Excellent. So, is there anything you want to add in there? Anywhere you want to send people before we go, as you got the audience?
Yeah, only things I would say, go and look at what Outlaw's doing, go and look at what Seed Our Future are doing. There's a lot of info out there for everybody to get their teeth into, and anybody who's ever been busted, WHO, APD 56, that's the document that you're all being criminalized on, and it's a fucking piss take.
So there you go, guys. Go do your homework there now. Try if you have a little bit of homework there. So go educate yourselves on what Trev just said, and do what you will then afterwards. Then because if you've got any bit of a brain in your head, you will get angry about this, like, and you will want to do something about it, because if it says what you were saying inside of there, like, then.
Yeah, once you start realizing just how badly you're getting ripped off across so many things on a daily basis because of this, like I say, if we'd listened to Henry Ford in 1925 rather than Harry Anslinger in 1937, none of us will be getting our energy bills put up by 54%. But don't use, guys. Simple as that.
Exactly, guys. It is down to use. We're only kind of individuals, and as we come together, united, we will change things. So again, let's just keep coming together. The more of us that kind of come out of the woodworks and join out. The likes of Trev and Steve, Guy, and Outlaw, and all of the rest of them. The more people that come and join you guys, the stronger that we're going to be. And the same here in Ireland, guys. So do your homework and get out of the cannabis closet.
That's the one. Brew time.
Brew time. Yes, get your brew into Trev, and have a nice evening, man. And we'll chat very soon again, dude.
You too. Take it easy, young. And thank you very much for everybody that's tuned in. I'll see you again.
Legend. Bye, Trev.
Sit down.
Yeah, that's set now, actually.